And it did just that yesterday in Boston. A season high in runs, hits, and extra base hits, cruising to a 10-5 win. Tonight they look to start a streak against the Phillies. Doug Fister faces off with Cole Hamels in front of the hometown crowd at Nats Park. Good to be home. The Nats have been gone for 6, 3 in Philly, 3 in Boston. So here's the Philadelphia rematch. Both teams 3 and 6. Phillies haven't won a game on the road yet. The Nats 2 and 4 on the road trip, and they've only won 1 game at home so far. So if you're going to win a last game of a series, make that the one to give you a little momentum going to the next series. NFP, bottom line is the bats have come alive now over the last 4 ball games.
Yeah, even the last 17 runs they've scored the last 2 days. And yesterday in Boston, it was the Boston tee-off party when you talk about the way they swung the bats. 8 of 9 starters had hits. Harper, Zim, Ramos, Moore had multi-hit games. Desmond and Moore homers. So the bats are starting to come alive. The big blow was the Wilson-Ramos double. Dan Uggla looked good. Michael Taylor swinging the bat. So it was nice to see Tyler Moore check in with his first hit of the year and his first home run of the year. They're starting to settle in, folks. When we said relax the other night, you look at the runs per game. The last 4 games, 6.3. The batting average is 245. Extra base hits, 15. They're starting to hit with runners in scoring position. It's starting to become the baseball season and not opening day with planes flying over their heads. They're relaxing. They're playing good baseball.
Yeah, taking the ball again. Doug Fister back here at home. Shutout against Miami. 9-26-14. Last time he pitched in this ballpark, and he was pretty solid at Philadelphia. Deserved better against the Phils. Got a no decision. Fister and the Phils coming up.
And reading hops. A lot of times Ian Desmond charges straight in, and it's hard to read the hops. You see the skipper talking to him right there. They were out early working on it. I'm going to show you what I mean by getting to one side of the baseball and reading hops. You just kind of get around it like that, and you field toward your target. A lot of times Ian Desmond likes to come straight in. And when you come straight in for the baseball, it's tough to read hops. You're kind of at the mercy of the baseball. You see how he's getting to one side and circling? Now you can read the speed of the ball. You can judge the hops. You can pick out the hop you like. It's almost like looking at a car coming straight at you. You can't tell how fast it's going until you get off to one side. Well, Ian Desmond out working early with the skipper did a nice job. So we'll see how that translates in the game tonight. We'll keep an eye on it.
66 degrees, humidity 41%. Cloudy skies. Talked to a couple of people who had a few raindrops on their windshields on the way to the ball game, but hopefully that all stays away. Odubel Herrera, the center fielder. Escobar well onto the grass at third. First pitch of the game swung on at 7:05.
Let's see the repertoire for Doug Fister. Fastball 85% the last time against the Phillies. And that was his first start of the year. 6 1/3 shutout innings. Gave up just 6 hits. Struck out 1, walked 1 through 95 pitches. So you see the ERA.
Last 6 regular season starts. 4-1 with a 1.58 ERA. Odubel Herrera hacking again.
You remember in Philly, Odubel had trouble keeping his clothes on. He stole second. His helmet came off. He went to third. His glasses came off. And his first swing tonight, his helmet came off. It was a chin strap.
He was 0 for 2 with a walk against Fister last weekend. Phillies hitting .220, 12th in the league, but they're dead last in runs with 22. 23-year veteran, the crew chief Larry Vanover has home plate. Ron Culpa 17th year, Brian Knight 7th year, and Vic Carapazza in his 5th year. Phillies have scored 22 runs but given up 37. Fister gets it inside corner with 88. Freddie Galvis to follow. Chase Utley, Jeff Francoeur, Cody Ashley is their guy right now. 12 for 24, a homer, 2 RBIs. Ryan Howard is batting 7th against a right-handed pitcher. It's the 17th time in his career he's batted that low in the batting order. And that's a little shocking to see him down there.
10 years ago was the last time he batted 7th.
And that was his rookie year. Freddie Galvis 1 for 3 against Doug Fister. He's been a hit collector for the Phils so far. 10 for 29, batting .345. Must have been high. Galvis is 5'10", 185. And a pop-up left side. This will be close. Escobar over. He's got room, and the ball started taking off toward the corner on him, and he made a fine grab.
That was a hard play, and he made it look so easy. And then not only caught the ball, but did you see the behind-the-back flip? And I think Doug Fister, did you see him say, wow? You know, Escobar playing at a different speed, and we talked about how the game moves fast for some people in April. Not Escobar. Watch this, behind the back. Here you go, Desi. I'll show it to you again. After he catches it, so the catch is the hard part. But I think the cool part is when he flips it behind his back to Ian Desmond after he makes the catch all in one motion.
Here's Utley. Handling himself beautifully over there at third base.
Watch the flip. I mean, that's a tough running catch. Hasn't played a lot of games in this ballpark. There you go, Desmond. And even Freddie Galvis is saying that was not an easy play.
Utley ripping on 2-0. Jason Worth with the ball tailing away from him. He'll run it down, approaching the left field line. Good defense by the left side of the Nats in the top of the first. Cole Hamels about to make his 34th career start against Washington.
for the achiever in you. Ocean City, Maryland. Put your vacation days to good use in Ocean City, Maryland. Book now at ococean.com.
That is one junky looking on deck circle. The Nats must be planning on being busy here.
Clean it up. Let's go.
Escobar.
We should go over that. We should get a shot of that, and I'll tell the fans everything that's in that on deck circle, because there's a lot going on.
He goes up ripping against Cole Hamels. Deep left center and gone. Yunel Escobar, first homer, first RBI as a Washington National.
We'll make a great play, lead off the inning, but that's the start of the ball game. And how about Yunel Escobar greeting Cole Hamels on the first pitch of the game, going ambush to put the Nats up 1-0. And there goes the no-hitter. There goes the shutout. Quick style here at Nats Park.
Career home run number 70. Here's Ian Desmond, who's come alive the last few games. And the early hack battle plan against Cole Hamels.
Fastball's averaging 92 this year. Curveball 77, changeup 84. He'll cut that fastball as well, around 88.
Skipped off the side of the mound on its way to Chase Utley, 1 out.
Check out the home run one more time. Yunel Escobar not waiting around. First pitch of the game from Cole Hamels. Catches it out front. So after making that nice running catch, he knew it as soon as he hit it, folks. Ambush mode. Into the red seats. 1-0 Nats.
Second Nationals leadoff homer of the year. Michael Taylor did it last Friday in Philly, but that was on the 8th pitch of the game. Against former Nat Jerome Williams, this one against the Phillies ace. And here's Worth, who's 5 for 34 career against Cole Hamels.
You see his numbers on the year. Leadoff hitters come back to the bench. And generally, part of the job is, what does he got? How does he look? And it's all Yunel Escobar has to tell his teammates is, what does he got? Homer.
Yeah. I didn't see the pitch. It ended up in the red seats. Saw it pretty good when he took a hack. 2-1 now to Jason Worth and a ball down and in. The Nats are in the top 2 in the league with 10 home runs now. Phillies have given up 12. .92 outside. Hamels has walked 5, struck out 11. That was the 6th home run he's given up. And Worth going the other way. Out of play, 3-2. Nats are hitting .212. Pirates at .207, so they've climbed out of the cellar with a recent barrage. Wilson Ramos, 6 for 29, a homer, 7 RBIs. Co-leader in ribbies with Taylor with those 7. And Worth a little late for 91. 2 down.
So the defense for the Phillies tonight behind Cole Hamels. Ruff, Herrera, Frank Courier outfield. Gavis, Ashley left side. Utley, Howard right side. And our old friend Carlos Ruiz behind the plate.
Bryce Harper had a 3-hit series in Boston, on base 4 times in 3 games. Doubled home a run yesterday in a ball that narrowly missed leaving Fenway. So he steps in at .250. 8 for 27 career with an RBI against Cole Hamels. Hounding Bryce inside.
Excuse me, Carp. Hamels has allowed 3 earned runs or less in 15 straight starts against the Nats. But he's winless in his last 5, and that's dating back to 2013.
Yeah, that speaks to Washington's pitching against his ball club. Still a relatively young man in his prime, age-wise, you would think, at 31. If the Phillies are as far out of the race this year as somebody thinks they will be, a lot of people think they will be, you'll see Cole Hamels pitching somewhere else on August 1st. Somebody's going to have him. FP, this is the kind of guy that's really hard to pick up at the trading deadline. You might get a guy who's slightly over 500, but seldom do you have a chance to pick up an ace at that point of a pennant race.
Well, a lot of people in Philadelphia didn't think he would even be in a Phillies uniform to start the year, but the asking price apparently for Cole Hamels is so steep that teams are backing away, trying to get your whole minor league system and maybe a couple big leaguers for a guy like this. So that's kind of where the Phillies are stuck. With Ryan Howard, too, there's rumors that they tried to move Ryan Howard and pick up most of his contract. But he's gotten off to a big-time scuffle, so I'm sure there's not a whole lot of interest in him right now.
Pitches all over the place in this lefty-lefty matchup, and Bryce strikes out. Hamels took a little bit off, 84. The changeup, but the homer was anything but off speed. Escobar right down the middle. He hit it right down the middle, a little to the left. Career homer, number 70.
Guy that works fast like Doug Fister. We saw that last year. He started up with a strikeout, then Yunel Escobar. Just a stroll through the park on a Sunday afternoon. Not a big deal, right? Nice play. And then Jason Worth going toward the line. Goes into a slide after he makes the catch with the wall approaching.
11 pitches, 7 strikes.
You're on your toes. You don't have time to think about your last at-bat. You're ready for the baseball. And Doug Fister, last time against the Phillies, 12 ground ball outs. We'll keep track of that again here today.
Jeff Francoeur jammed. So now it's 13 pitches, 9 strikes.
Here's your defense for the night. Worth, Taylor, Harper, your outfield. Desmond, Escobar, left side. Espinoza, Zimmerman, right side. And the Buffalo, Wilson Ramos behind the plate.
Francoeur to center. Taylor got a late start and it falls in front of him. Big guy like Jeff Francoeur takes that big swing. And it kind of got out there and had nothing on it, just dropped.
Yeah, I think his bat died a hero. It had that sound, and Michael Taylor took a jab step back. Tried to make up for it.
There's Cody Ashe. This guy's on fire. 2 for 6 with an RBI against Doug Fister career. 12 for 24. And he has enough at bats to show up on the league stat sheet Adrian Gonzalez of the Dodgers, 528. G.J. LeMahieu of the Rockies, 514. That ball hit harder than Frank Coors, but right at Bryce Harper. And when Bryce bent his knees right at the end, that ball might have gotten in the third base lights a bit. Things are happening fast.
Ashe coming in 11 for his last 17. A line out right there. Doug Fister still without a ground ball out. A lot of balls in the air here early.
He's just setting them up for later. Gets a ground ball here. Great chance at 2 with the catcher running. Carlos Ruiz 1 for 8 with a walk against Doug.
Well, Cole Hamels probably sitting in the Phillies dugout right now, crossing his fingers. The Phillies have not scored a run for him in his first 2 starts this year. He hasn't had the chance to say offense is cool yet.
Only 2 games in the league today. Marlins beat the Mets 2-0. Actually, that game just underway. There were 2 other afternoon games, but 1 in each league. Minnesota beat Kansas City, but the Royals are still 7-2, and the Tigers are 8-1 over there. And Carlos Ruiz looks at the umpire and then takes a walk to the third base dugout. Second strikeout, 2 down.
That little 2-seam fastball. And Ruiz obviously looking for something else. So a 3-pitch see ya. And you see the late sink right here. Good frame by Wilson Ramos to catch that ball right at the bottom of the strike zone. The catcher, if you take that ball down below the zone, once you catch it, you may not get the call. That's why I always say he stuck the landing.
Here's Ryan Howard. So Howard, 10 years ago, first year in the league was actually just over 10 years ago. He only played 19 games in 2004. That'll be a can of corn for Jason Worth. Doug Fister still without an out on the ground. He's given up 1 hit, and that sparkling first baseman about to lead off.
There. This is a Moda stick right there. This is a rosin bag right here. This is a sleeve right there. Hey, put that back. This is a pine tar rag right here. And this is a weighted bat right there. And on the other side of that weighted bat is actually another weighted bat right there. So it's like you have your own sporting goods store in the on deck circle to get your bat ready and yourself ready for your at-bat.
Yeah, if you like used equipment, that place is fantastic.
I don't know what that bottle of whatever is. Did you see that? I don't know what that is. There's a blue liquid bottle there. Maybe that's in case you get scared. You get nervous.
1-1 to Ryan Zimmerman. Bottom of the second underway. Ryan 20 for 78 career against Hamels with 3 homers, 6 RBIs, and 7 walks.
Dan's telling me it's colorless tough skin. The blue liquid substance in the on deck circle. Can't see it there.
Colorless tough skin.
So next time you come to a ball game and you see all that stuff laying there, you know what it is now.
3-1. And a little tapper that's fair. Carlos Ruiz. First out. Wilson Ramos next. Saturday against Cole Hamels. Stayed on it beautifully.
The Buffalo going the other way. Got on top of a high fastball outside.
That was 1 out in the 4th inning.
And that's his only home run of the year.
Put the Nats on top. That was his first RBI, and he's collected 6 since. Hamels 108 big league wins, 84 losses, 277 start, and now 34 of them against Washington. Two and one.
Wilson went with the high pants yesterday, going with it again today. Well, you see Ryan Zimmerman working hard to get to a 3-1 count, only to get a changeup. Wilson Ramos working hard to get to a 2-1 count, only to get a changeup. I think you're getting an idea why Nats hitters are swinging early in the count, because count leverage with Cole Hamels is overrated. You're not going to get a fastball when he falls behind. Not always, at least.
He paints the inside edge. 3 Ks in the last 4 hitters.
Join the Nationals tomorrow as they host Military Appreciation Day as part of this season's Patriotic Series. That's presented by SAIC. All active duty, dependent, reservists, and retired military members can receive 2 complimentary game tickets per military ID while supplies last. Get your tickets at Potomac Avenue near the Blue Tent beginning at 4 p.m. Game starts at 7:05. And Max Scherzer will be throwing pellets. That's what, 7:06?
Yep, just like tonight. Nats will be facing Sean O'Sullivan again, who pitched against them on Sunday and did quite well. Pretty good take.
Let's go STG inside the numbers. Most strikeouts on changeup since 2006. That guy, Cole Hamels, number 2, 780.
Danny Espinosa hacking on a pitch just off the plate. And it's 2-2. So Espinosa 3 for 9 on the young season. Ironically, looking for his first base hit right-handed. 0 for 3. That was the Hamels curveball. 5 in a row for Cole since the Escobar home run.
I'm getting tweets from people in Harrisburg right now, and they're telling me Denard Span is 2 for 3 on the night tonight.
So he's a lot closer to DC, too. I like that.
That's good news. So apparently Denard's going to play at least 7 today and 9 if he feels good. And everybody in that dugout, including Matt Williams, hoping that he feels good. I know we are. I instinctively just got out of my seat for that foul ball and remembered that I was at Nats Park. Oh, we're at Fenway for 3 days and foul balls all around us. So I pop up for that one and realized that I was at 37,000 feet.
It's going to have a tracer on the end of it to get up here. 3-2 and Espinosa. Good at bat. Danny walks with 2 outs. That'll get Michael A. Taylor to the plate, hitting 8th. And hitting 9th yesterday at Fenway. He had a 2 for 4 day with an RBI double. The battery of Hamels and Ruiz not great at stopping runners over the last 3 years. Opposing teams 45 stolen bases. And they've only been caught 19 times. This one out to short to his right, Freddie Galvis, and the short throw. So Pfister will lead off next inning. Hamels about to bat second on the Escobar homer. The Nats lead.
Wrap. Doug Pfister, on the other hand, tries actively not to pump himself up before a start. He listens to country music. He lays down on the sofas in the clubhouse, takes a pre-start nap. 2 very good pitchers, guys. 2 totally different ways of going about it. Pfister likes calming himself down, getting his nerves together. Max Scherzer likes to amp himself up, get that intensity flowing.
Dan, what do you listen to before the game to pump yourself up?
Fantastic question, FP. A little bit of everything. Lately, I've been going with country. I'm with Doug on this one.
I heard you listen mainly to John Harvey.
That's true as well.
A pregame producer.
Thanks, DanCoons.com, the sideline report. Nicely done. When you're talking cars, you're talking Coons.
Oh, 2. Pfister dealing. Darren Ruff off to a really tough start, not rough. He's 1 for 17. That one hit a home run. And Pfister has him 1 and 2.
Kind of that getting back to the Ryan Howard thing, he swung early, so we didn't have a chance to talk about it. But you remember his last start against Pfister? He swung the bat well. He squared the ball up all night long. Odd that he hit 7th tonight.
And a ball driven to the gap. Nobody will be able to cut it off. Harper will use that arm to take command out there. Good throw it is. Second consecutive leadoff hit for the Phils. That's how you get out of a 1 for 17 the other way.
Well, you're always one swing away from ending a slump. And that's a nice piece of hitting by the Phillies left fielder, Darren Ruff. So a leadoff double. If you remember the last Cole Hamels start against Doug Pfister, was all about the bunt, and they couldn't get him down.
They got him with a good throw, but it skipped. And from Ramos, it was on the wrong side of the bag, as Darren Ruff was a good 20 to 25 feet toward third base.
It's a good lesson for you younger kids. Let the bunt get you to the next base. Don't try to get to the next base yourself. See the bunt down first, and it's incumbent on the guy in the box to make a good enough bunt to advance you. You as a runner, so all you do is kind of tagging along after you see the ball down.
Lays it down. There's a play at third. Pfister takes his time. Escobar the tag. 1-5. And early season bunting for the Phils. No good.
I might see a replay right here. Ryan Sandberg on the top step. I saw Larry Boa go to the phone. So we'll all check it out together again. What do we got at home, guys? What do you think? Darren Ruff does not agree. Did he get the tag back down before the foot hit the base? Ooh,
maybe not.
I think he was safe.
Yeah, watching that replay, if Escobar lays his glove down, runner probably slides into it, but it was off the bag a bit. Taking the Phillies clubhouse a while to determine out or not. Dugout and clubhouse, I might add.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a ball out of the dirt or low and then take the tag right to it. I'm thinking this is the definitive angle. And if you can see the foot get to the base before the tag, I think Escobar did a really nice job of selling it to third base umpire Vic Carapazzi.
No, you might have heard the applause. The Nats fans applauding the out call.
Huh.
Evidently the Phillies in their video room downstairs didn't see anything conclusive.
But if you're having trouble scoring runs and you have your ace on the mound, wouldn't you take a chance in the top of the third to have runners at the corners and one out?
Yeah.
I would use my review right there. I mean, that wasn't. I thought he was safe. I would have definitely taken a chance. Maybe I'm crazy.
And that would be first and third with the top of the order
coming up. Take a shot. So you don't have your review the rest of the game. I mean, you have a chance to score off of Doug Pfister. That's a head scratcher for me. I'm sorry.
Fifth batter out of 10 with an 0-2 count. To left. Worth to his right. 2 down.
Yeah, that's a sac fly. Just after your PNC minor league report, PNC Bank for the Achiever and you. Felipe Rivero called back up today. Last season, the minors, 14 starts. He's a reliever now. And if you remember him in spring training, he has an electric fastball, 96, 97 miles an hour from the left side. Called up today because Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, Herrera, a lot of lefties in the Phillies lineup.
Taylor Jordan sent back to AAA. Bryce Harper didn't get a look at it first, and then he misses it. He never got back on that ball quickly enough. There's a play at the plate, and Hamels goes by, or rather, yeah, it was Hamels, and this game is tied. Bryce Harper played that kind of casually, and all of a sudden he realized it was hit a whole lot better.
Yeah, just dropping the barrel on that pitch. Pretty good pitch by Pfister down the zone. Maybe wanted a little further away. You see Bryce kind of maybe tricked a little bit, and that ball carried further than he thought. Cruised back on it first, then tried to turn the Jets on, jumped at the wall, and couldn't make the play. And a good relay by Espinosa, but Ramos can't handle the short hop. The in-between hop with the catcher's glove is tough.
Chase Utley could put the Phils on top.
So maybe Ryan Sandberg had a crystal ball and knew that Galvis was going to hit one off the fence.
Utley to Harper and Bryce to cover this one. Phillies, some good swings at Doug Fister in that top of the third inning. A couple of extra base hits, and they tie the game.
On her shirt. She's ready. Call her up. 1-1 as we head to the bottom of the third. Calling all kids. Join us at Nats Park this Sunday as we celebrate Screech's birthday and Kids Opening Day, presented by Junior Nationals Kids Club. Kids, just come to the park. Just have your parents stick you in an Uber. Come to the ballpark by yourself and then just Uber home. Just come to the game. For more information and to purchase tickets, go to nationals.com. Oh, he's ready. With the eye black on. He's got the fighting necklace on and the glove.
Yeah, that was a Peanuts eye black under the right eye there. Fister, Escobar, Desmond, bottom of the third in a tie game. To the pitcher.
Walked Doug Fister last time he faced him. It's in his head. Remember the last start, he walked Doug first time up.
And a foul ball on the check swing.
Might have been ball 4.
Blew it by him. Strikeout number 4. Escobar hit his 5th career leadoff homer last time.
First pitch of the game, right in his power zone. Serious ambush piece. He planned that at about 2 this afternoon, probably. I'm swinging at the first pitch of the game tonight, and I'm going deep.
Last leadoff homer, June of 15 against Baltimore's Jake Arrieta.
When the Nats score, everyone wins. All season long, when the Nats win and score 7 or more runs, you get 50% off regular menu prices online orders at papajohns.com by entering promo code NATS50. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, official pizza of your Washington Nationals.
Escobar was with Toronto then. Who's in the process of hitting 298, or rather 290 with 48 RBIs for the Blue Jays, 11 home runs. Hamels busting him inside. 2 out, strikeout number 5. Nissan will track it.
Yeah, 3 pitches. And he finishes him off with that cutter inside at 92.
Ian Desmond next. Sharply hit ground ball to Chase Utley, first time.
Yeah, lots of heaters early. And it seems like the second time around he's going his off speed a little bit more. That's what good pitchers do, you know. Keep you guessing, keep you off balance. Show you one thing one time, another thing another time.
2.59 ERA, 33 career starts against the Nats. And the 0-2, target in. It's low. Left side gobbled up by Cody Asher. 1-2-3 for Hamels. Just a walk given up since the Escobar first inning leadoff homer.
Welcome back to Nationals Park. The Nationals got some bad news today when a MRI on Craig Stamon's right arm revealed a torn flexor tendon in that arm. He will require surgery, and Matt Williams wasn't able to provide a definitive timetable on how long Stamon will be out, but this is a surgery that can cause players to miss an entire season. We don't need to tell fans how valuable Stamon has been. Over 70 innings in 3 consecutive seasons, had worked the most innings of any reliever the last 3 years, now going to be out for an extended period of time, guys.
Yeah, we wish him nothing but the best. He's been a horse in that bullpen for the last 3 or 4 years, and they're going to miss him, and we're going to miss him. So good luck, Craig. Jeff Francoeur leading off the top of the 4th inning. Doug Fister so far 30 fastballs, 2 cutters, 1 change. Hasn't really thrown his off speed yet. And just like any start, you're looking for the ground balls, and they haven't been there yet. So a 4-pitch walk. Francoeur leads it off. Dan, you got more on the bullpen. What do you got?
FP, now with Rivero up to go along with the guys the Nationals already had in the bullpen, they have 4 relievers out there who have thrown fewer than 60 career big league innings. They do have Drew Storen. They do have Matt Thornton. Tanner Roark has gotten work as well, but this is a fairly inexperienced bullpen now. They're going to have to count on some of these younger guys, these guys who haven't gotten the amount of big league experience in some more crucial situations.
Bunch of pups out there. They'll get the job done. So a 4-pitch walk to Jeff Francoeur brings up the hot hit in Cody Ashe.
Yeah, Francoeur in his prime, good power guy, good speed guy. Ashe lined out to Harper first time. Pouncing on this, Wilson Ramos turns and makes a good throw.
Nice play by the Buffalo. Not an easy play when you practice, but he came out barehanded, it spun, picked up his target, made a perfect throw to Ryan Zimmerman. Ashe's smelling a knock, and the throw just beats him.
That'll bring in Carlos Ruiz. He's always been tough in situations like this. Solid RBI guy. Off to a tough start. 5 for 21, just 1 driven in. Late swing. Ruiz struck out looking first time. And a ball hit hard out to center. Taylor back. It had another gear, and he drops it. Boy, evidently, Fenway has influenced how a couple of guys are going after the ball here at home.
I don't think Fenway had anything to do with that, but Michael Taylor has had some bad jumps out there tonight, and he kind of cruised on this one, too. Watch his route. He thinks he has this all the way and then has to kind of sprint. You saw the pause in his stride right there, and then it hits him in the heel. Actually hit him outside his glove.
Taylor's first error. We did see at Fenway Taylor not take command on a couple of balls, FP, and there was discussion about that hit, and then he did better toward the end of that series. So here you are facing the number 7 hitter, and tonight it just happens to be Ryan Howard.
Who's in, 3 or 4 at-bats off Doug Fister, seen him well.
Infield way in, especially Danny Espinosa.
Yeah, put him on.
Load him up for Darren Ruff, the number 8 hitter, and then the pitcher after that.
I mean, the Nats have played 9 games. Yeah, I'm going to say in about 6 or 7 of those games, they've had to get 30, 31, or 32 outs.
Yeah,
it hasn't been 27 out baseball. They have
not just 28 or 29. You're right.
30,
a lot more.
31, 32 out games where they've had a chance to make plays that they're going to make, that have to be made at the big league level, that haven't been made. It puts a lot of pressure on an offense to make up for that. It puts a lot of pressure on the guy standing on the rubber to make up for that.
Darren Ruff double to right center last time up. He set up their run-scoring 3rd inning. And he hits one out to center that'll send Taylor back. This will be easy for Jeff Francoeur. And then right behind him, Carlos Ruiz goes to 3rd. Phillies on top. It's another unearned run.
I like the move by Matt Williams right there, walking Ryan Howard because of what we were discussing, because he's seeing him well, hitting the ball hard. And normally he's thinking with a right-hander up there in rough and Doug Fister, he's got a ground ball double play to get out of that. But by my scorecard tonight, minus the Cole Hamels bunt, which was a fielder's choice, there's only been one ground ball out, and that's number 2.
Yeah, one guy trying to hit the ball on the ground, and then Hamels that time. Phillies on top. Ouch.
George still not on the board. George had a big lead, and he decided to just like start talking to fans. And then my man Abe, what's up, bro? Your 3rd win of the year already. You are on fire, my friend. 2-1 Phillies. We're into the bottom of the 4th inning. And your Honda Do-Ups, there they are. Jason Worth against Cole Hamels. A couple of taters. 7 RBIs. Bryce Harper, 286. And Ryan Zimmerman, 3 home runs, 6 RBI off the Phillies lefty.
Worth struck out swinging first time up. First of Cole Hamels, 5 Ks. You might have the best ERA of anybody in baseball who's given up 6 home runs in just over 2 starts. And Worth with a fly ball to right. That's Jeff Francoeur. First out, bottom of the 4th. Nationals Park on a Thursday night, April 16th. Bob FP, Dan downstairs. The guys lost 2 of the first 3 at home to the Mets last week. Lost 4 of 6 on the road trip. Trying to get this 4-game series and 7-game home stand off to a good start. Bryce struck out swinging first time. Hamels' first 3 innings, 48 pitches, 29 strikes.
See, these are the counts where as a hitter, you just trained your whole life to look fastball. And Cole Hamels doesn't always throw them. And you see the changeup right there, left on left. So a lot of lefties won't throw a lefty a changeup, but Cole Hamels throws everybody a changeup, and he throws it when he's behind the count. It's just so hard for a hitter to get off the fastball in a fastball count and look for something else. It really is. And you know why, Carp? Because if you sit changeup 2-0 and he throws a fastball right down the middle, that's the one you lose sleep over after the game, that you flip-flop in bed saying, dang, I should have stayed on the fastball right there. So it's a tough adjustment.
3-1. Right in there to fill the count. Bryce Harper, quite a take. How did he know that was ball four?
He was sitting on a changeup, that's why.
Checking on Mercedes-Benz pitch track.
I mean, I think he was sitting on a changeup. 3-2, you're thinking he's going to go with a changeup, but he paints a fastball in a call that could have went either way.
Hamels couldn't believe it.
And I think Bryce is saying, I got away with one, Ryan. That was pretty close. And guys will say stuff like that.
Here's Zimmerman. Hit a little tapper in front of the plate first time. Ruiz threw him out.
Tony Tarasco is talking to first base umpire Ron Culpa right now. He thought that might have been a ball. Cole Hamels stepped pretty close to home on that. Bryce holding his batting gloves in his hand. No oven mitt on tonight.
It's an experienced umpire over there, Ron Culpa, 17th year.
Look, he's looking.
He's a crew chief when not working with a guy like Larry Vanover, who's behind the plate. And he got him for the balk. How about that? Give Tony Tarasco credit for that 90 feet.
Yes, sir. Tony Tarasco on it. After the first one, like I said, he walked over to Ron Culpa and he said, I don't think he's stepping at a 45. He's stepping a little bit too close to the plate for me. So we had the great shot, guys, of Ron Culpa in a good position right there, looking at it. He's looking because Tarasco made him aware, and there he goes. He called the balk. So give Tarasco credit and give Ron Culpa credit for listening to Tony.
That's a strike on the inside corner to Zimmerman. Phillies play Ryan pretty much straight away. Center fielder Odubel Herrera just maybe a couple of steps off straight away.
Triple Zimmerman yesterday. Down in the right field corner, ball kind of caromed all over the place after Victorino couldn't catch it. Shane Victorino ran the equivalent of the Boston Marathon yesterday in right field for the Red Sox. 26.2 miles he ran in that 9-inning game. I'll tell you what, no one's paying attention to Bryce at second. He can steal third if he wants to. Chase Utley way back. Freddie Galvis way back. Nobody near him.
Tying run, second base, one out, bottom of the fourth. Phillies have out hit the Nats 3-1.
Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game. That is brought to you by Miller Lite.
Zimmerman on a changeup, down and away, strikes out. Ryan thought there were 3 outs after that strikeout. And it'll be number 6 for Cole Hamels.
Little changeup from Cole Hamels right there. The 80th time that Ryan Zimmerman has faced Cole Hamels goes Cole Hamels' way, and Ryan thought it was the 3rd out. He was going to take his gloves off, and right here he says, uh-oh.
Next up, Wilson Ramos. Ryan off to a very uncharacteristic start, 5 for 35.
Yeah, but Ryan's the kind of guy that goes a month without making an out. Once he locks in, he's locked.
Ramos jammed, and maybe it's a good thing. It's into left center, dropping to tie the game. And Wilson Ramos has the team RBI lead with 8.
Bat died a hero. So the borderline pitch, the 3-2 pitch to Bryce Harper, comes back to haunt Cole Hamels. He didn't get the call. Harper advances, and then Wilson Ramos with a beautiful thing. Pieces of wood flying all over the place. Broken bat single with 2 outs, scores Bryce Harper and ties this ball game up at 2.
Well, the Nationals sure have given up their fair share of those. That side of the blooper ledger nowhere near even yet. Here's Espinosa. Danny walked first time, and he swings through a changeup, diving away from him. Espinosa, homer, 2 RBIs on the year. In the air to right for Jeff Francoeur. The Nats will make the 1-out walk on a very borderline pitch. Hurt. Ramos gets the RBI. The Nats have been at the bottom of that wheel and a couple times at the top of that wheel so far.
Join us in celebrating the first of 6 10-year Tuesdays at National Park on April 21st. The first 10,000 fans in attendance will receive a 10-year anniversary stationery set. Carp, is that what you got Mrs. C for her 10th anniversary stationery set?
Oh, man. She got pen, paper, love letters, IOUs.
The truck is telling me that tin is the 10.
That's why the Nats gave out that tin container the other day to put all your goodies in this year.
I get it.
I was rattling that at you. I wasn't harassing you.
Go to Astros.com/tickets for more information. It's your 10th anniversary as the Nats broadcaster. Maybe I'll get you, I don't know.
Yeah, I got to wait till next year.
A tin.
This is 10th year, but I think the anniversary is actually at the end of the 10th year. Tin.
I'll get you a tin cup for you to put your change in.
A lot of years in broadcasting have given me tinnitus. He said, huh? There it is. The big number this year. Odubel Herrera struck out looking, line to left. And Pfister goes 80 to get strike 2. Top of the 5th underway.
Yeah, Doug's starting to go to the changeup now as the Phillies have showed him. They've been on his fastball all night.
right in there. Doug Fister, third strikeout and the first in 3 innings. Herrera didn't like the call.
Well, he struck out Odubel Herrera in the first inning on the same pitch, the swing back fastball. He did it right there, started it right at him. Watch the late movement back. Love that Exmo shot.
Yeah, you can almost read the new commissioner's autograph on that thing.
And Herrera did not like it. Look at the raindrops in the Exmo.
Freddie Galvis 1 for 2 with an RBI triple. Target away. Stroked well the other way and right to Jason Worth by Freddie Galvis. 2 outs.
Let's go STG inside the numbers on Doug Fister. 11 starts at home last season, 8-2. Check out the ERA, opponent's average, the whip. Loves the white uni, loves Nats Park.
Utley in the air twice. Fly ball first inning, the good running play by Jason Worth. Then a liner right at Bryce Harper. Third out of those 2 innings, the first and the third. That's a good looking curveball. 71. Levo-like from Doug Fister. Utley will line another one over to Bryce Harper, fighting the lights, and he's got it. 1-2-3 for Doug halfway through the ball game. 2-2 battle. Nats Phillies. .230 Phils, 2-2-1 Nats. Taylor, Fister, Escobar. Ideal situation for Michael A to get aboard and let Doug bun him over with all that speed. Bounced out to Freddie Galvis at short, first time up.
It's where you still have to respect the fastball, but usually a changeup.
There it goes. Left center. See you later. What a bomb by Michael Taylor, his second of the year. That's where the big guys hit him.
But it's what I was talking about earlier. You stay on the fastball. If Michael Taylor takes that 2-0 fastball, he's dreaming about it all night. He's having nightmares about taking that 2-0 fastball. He didn't get in his own head. He didn't sit on the changeup. He stayed on the heater, and he made Cole Hamels pay, and he put his team up by 1.
Boy, did he. Third big league home run. And that ball popped up by Doug Fister. Foul ground for Cody Ashe. It's okay, Doug. Go get a breather. 1 out, 5th inning.
So this is the tricky part about facing Cole Hamels. Do you sit on a 2-0 changeup, or do you stay on the fastball? And Michael Taylor gets a letter-high fastball and gets on top of it and creates tons of backspin and carries that one all the way over the Phillies bullpen. Ian Desmond, helmet taker offer guy. Wilson Ramos with some high fives.
Crushed.
Ball was hammered.
Absolutely gashed. Top of the order, here's Escobar. He was trying to go almost back-to-back. Cole Hamels has now given up 7 home runs in under 19 innings. He always has that changeup. 0-2 to the Nats third baseman with Ian Desmond on deck. And out to short. Freddie Galvis on the move, 2 down. Ian Desmond now.
Celebrate the season with American Standard All-Star Sales Event. Visit MidAtlanticComfort.com for amazing rebate and financing opportunities. Who's hot? Adrian Gonzalez sizzling, 19 for 36, 5 home runs. And who's not? The Giants, 4.5 games back of the Rockies, and they've lost 6 straight.
Yeah, they started out 3-1. Ten hits off Cole Hamels this year, 7 home runs, all 7 by right-handers, all 7 solos. The old pitching adage says you can make a lot of money just giving up solo homers. But it's going to be a challenge for the Phillies to score runs all year. 1-1 pitch. Desmond the other way. Took Ian a while to find that ball. He was looking all around, finally saw it, and it was flying close enough to the right field line that he started running down toward first. Nice day yesterday in Beantown.
Yeah, the home run on the slider down in, just dropped the barrel right on it. Look at that. Little extension, kept it fair, hit it off an insurance sign.
Wow.
That would have been on the street if that sign wasn't there.
Yeah, that was headed for somebody's easy pass on the Massachusetts Turnpike. Here's a 1-2 to Ian.
You know, whatever you want to say about Ian Desmond's Aprils, the one thing I respect more than anything out of him is he stands up in his locker every night and he talks to the media. There's a lot of guys, if they were having the April that Ian Desmond's having, would go hide in the training room and would refuse to talk to the media. And Ian Desmond is a stand-up guy every night and addresses the situation.
One of the great leaders on this team for a number of years now. The Taylor home run. And the Nats go on top 3-2. That's the second time this year he's pulled out the tailor-made driver and gone, I mean, really long distance.
Toyota's K's for Kids. The Washington area DC Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by making a donation of $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout by a Nats pitcher this season. 3 strikeouts for Doug tonight times 37 equals $870.
By the way, my partner, thanks for picking me up tonight.
A little under the weather. You're a gamer, Bob. Doing a great job. Keep it up.
I like the pace of this game. 6-3, Desmond to Francoeur. You got 2 veteran guys out there dealing. Yeah, they'll give up a home run here and there, or they'll give up a couple of hits. I think the greatest thing we could see right now would be some more ground ball outs from Doug Fister.
Check out the Phillies box score tonight. Freddie Galvis with a triple. And Darren Ruff, double and a sac fly.
There's Cody Ashe. Line drive to right. Then a little dribbler third base side, and Wilson Ramos went out and pounced on it, threw him out. That was a big out after a leadoff walk. Phillies ended up scoring in that 4th inning. This ground ball, Danny Espinosa to a knee, 2 down. Doug Fister now 7 outs in a row. There's Carlos Ruiz 0 for 2. But he hit that ball to center. Hit it pretty well. That Michael Taylor dropped 2 innings ago. That ball hit hard, but right at former Philly, longtime national, Jason Worth. Another 1-2-3 for Doug Fister. He's on a roll with 8 in a row.
And family, and just anybody, a piece of grass right there. You could treat that to a group outing at Nats Park this season. New for 2015, fan experiences can be included with your group outing, like watching Ian Desmond hit left-handed. Look how he's holding the bats. Or you could watch batting practice from the dugout, hold the finish line for the Geico President's Race. All of that.
How do they get a mower through that stuff?
You could just sit right in that grass, maybe. I don't know.
If you buy it, he will come. Nats box. Escobar and Taylor, long balls here. Jason Worth trying to join the party. That's deep to center, and that will short hop just to the right of the 402, and Jason Worth puts a charge into a double.
Well, Jason Worth is a big toe of this ball club. And they were happy to see the hairy guy back. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Worth says, I'm going to see you guys in April next year. I'm not going to Vieira because spring training is overrated. I've never seen a guy after a couple of rehab starts hit the ball so well and be so locked in with the strike zone so early as Jason Worth. Folks, it's not this easy. That's why teams go down to Florida and Arizona.
Yeah, he's 2 for 14, but he's barreled up about 5 or 6 of them.
He just looks like he had a whole spring training.
Here's Harper 0 for 1 with a walk.
Got to get him over.
A run scored. So Bryce in pull mode here with the right-handed batting Zimmerman on deck. Good heater by Hamels at 91.
So Denard's in Hagerstown. I messed that up earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, he's even closer.
He's 3 for 4, though. He's ready. Call him up.
Yeah. Hagerstown even closer to here than Harrisburg. Not for a minor leaguer climbing through the system. Logical next step for a young guy is Potomac and then Harrisburg.
I knew it was one of those H's. Hagersburg. Harristown.
2 balls, 1 strike.
That's TG inside the numbers. 2+ runs this year, first 7 games. Last 2, several.
Yeah, a couple of 6 spots in Boston. 3-1. And that bottom line that said previous, that meant previous to this game tonight. So the last 2 featuring lots of offense. Just to clear it all up. Bryce Harper hunting his 4th RBI. Wow. If Mr. Harper doesn't swing, it's not a strike tonight. 2 on, nobody out.
Bryce and Larry Vanover must be BFFs because he's taking some close pitches tonight. And he's got the benefit of the doubt. That looked pretty good on pitch track.
They're buff.
They're going to hang out.
Best umpire friends forever.
Go have some cold ones after the game. Catch up. Send them Christmas cards, the whole 9.
That's an umpire. 23rd year in the big leagues. Crew chief. Big spot for Ryan Zimmerman to open this game up for the Nationals. He's hit 3 career homers and driven in 6 against Cole Hamels. Doug Fister pitching beautifully. He deserves more than a 1-run lead. That's well hit. Right field corner. It is going to short hop the wall and just sit there. Look out, Jason Worth. Bryce Harper's right behind you. And you're both going to score.
What a read by Bryce Harper.
There we go.
Oh, my goodness. And Bob Henley tried to stop him, I think, but you couldn't. He almost caught Jason Worth. They were like, it was like a NASCAR race. Watch Bryce Harper drafting Jason Worth. He's probably running faster because he's right behind him. Bob Henley tried to stop him, but you can't stop Harper when he's going that fast.
And a bad relay by Jeff Francoeur made it easy for the Nats to score that second run.
Oh, that was great.
So that ends the streak of Cole Hamels on the road of allowing 3 runs or fewer in 21 consecutive starts going back to July 26th of 2013. How about Zimmerman and the damage he's starting to do going the other way? It's a clinic right now.
Yeah, that ball was hit, and you were wondering, would it stay in the ballpark as far as the hop goes? I didn't think it had enough to get out for a home run. But, you know, the Nats have made the warning track very soft here. They want balls to stay in play, but that short hopped the fence. And that allowed Bryce, who knew that was over, Jeff Francoeur's head right away. I mean, that's great pre-pitch preparation by Bryce. You look out there, you see where the right fielder's playing, you see the ball off the bat, and you know with nobody out that that's getting over his head. He just took off. It's good base running.
Still nobody out. Time to move a runner again. Not deep enough with the arm of Jeff Francoeur. Zimmerman has to stay. So Wilson Ramos down. Danny Espinosa next.
He's the key. I'm telling you, folks. He's the key. Got your leader back. You got your big hairy guy in the middle of the lineup.
First thing Matt Stairs said to me, the former Nat who now does TV for the Phils. Matty always comes over and sees us when we play them. First thing he said, you got him back Monday, didn't you?
Yep.
Because even though Jason hasn't collected a lot of hits, the presence in the lineup, a huge difference.
Presence in the clubhouse, presence in the dugout. You know, he's pretty vocal down there. I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that.
Espinosa jacks one foul. That thing had some severe hook on it after flirting with the left field line for a second. Nats getting big-time hacks at Cole Hamels here. Philly bullpen busy with Luis Garcia.
See him? He's always working down there. Always firing guys up, making guys laugh, keeping it light. Just that presence. It's a great shot, guys, of what he means. A little high five from Ugla. Their smiles. They're having fun. They're relaxed. You just don't know when you have a guy like that back what it means.
And a chopper. Espinosa off to the races. Kobayashi plays it well to get Danny by a step or less. Zimmerman to third, 2 down. Will they pitch to Michael A. Taylor?
I wouldn't.
The Michael A. hit it a long way last time.
I was digging the tailor-made line, by the way. Tailor-made driver.
Yeah, he hit it like mine, hooked to the left. Fairway a little wider here.
Except for yours when it landed right where Darren Ruff is standing.
Now, come on.
I don't think it would have made it over the bullpen.
In front of a sick man here. Come on. 5-5-1 Nats, 2-3-0 Phils. Didn't think they would. Fourth walk of the night for Hamels.
Doug Fister's had some pretty good at-bats against Cole Hamels, but this is definitely the right move for Sandberg. No doubt about it. Text Masson's word of the day, ability, to 29292 for your chance to win a meet and greet with Matt Williams, presented by Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield, who encourages each of us to take that first step toward a healthier and more active lifestyle. Ability.
Fister, strikeout, foul out. And a bouncing ball. Ryan Howard keeps Doug Fister from knocking in his third career run. Even the pitcher swinging it well for the Nats in the 6th inning, and now they lead 5-2.
By DraftKings. Play fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code DUGOUT for free entry. And by visitannapolis.org. Find the Chesapeake experience at visitannapolis.org. A little behind the back French pastry. That was sweet, wasn't it? Sure.
Some guys just have style.
Guys are loose. They're having fun.
Where is our third baseman? Oh, yeah, he's over by the umpire with Ryan Howard leading off the 7th inning. Doug Fister, 66 pitches in 6 innings. Fister, 69 miles an hour. That could be the end of the line for Cole Hamels with 95 pitches.
Let's go deep inside the numbers on Ryan Howard. Most home runs against the Nats since 2005, the guy in the batter's box. Dan Uggla, 22 taters versus the Nats.
Howard to left. Flirting with a home run in Philadelphia. Not here.
The truck was on thin ice right there if that went out.
Darren Ruff.
Ryan Howard's been in that big-time scuffle, Carp. He's having trouble hitting the fastball. Nearly 65% of all of his pitches seen this year have been fastballs. 7 of his 10 strikeouts this year coming into today have been on fastballs.
You know, and that no Philly fan wants to hear that about a 34-year-old former star player.
I mean, his defense, he's faced Max Scherzer and Matt Harvey, but still, he's not catching up to the heater like he used to.
So Hamels will be done after 6. Long ball hurt him again tonight.
Lots of fastballs from Fister tonight, 86%. He's only thrown a couple curveballs and a couple changes.
Look at that pinpoint fastball control. 86 on the corner. Darren Ruff double, sac fly, 2 good at bats. Doug Fister diving one under the bat of the right-handed hitter. That's his 4th K.
And with 3-2 changeup right here, Ruff has probably seen Doug Fister the best of any Philly tonight. And right when you thought you were getting a 3-2 fastball, you see the grip on the fingertips. Great shot, rolling off. Ruff seeing the arm speed, tricking him into thinking it was a fastball. It pulled the string for strike 3.
Grady Sizemore is 4 for 12 career against Doug Fister with a home run, 3 RBIs. Hitting for Cole Hamels and getting a base hit. The Phillies first since the 3rd inning. Good job to get it back in by Jason Worth.
So if there's a stat for holding doubles into singles this year, the Nats would be leading the league. Michael Taylor's been great at it. Bryce Harper in right center field has cut off a few, and now Jason Worth joins that group with a really nice play. And you wonder how the right shoulder would fare with as far as the velocity goes on the throw. Check it out. Not a problem. One hopper right on the money.
Phillies 4th base hit. Top of the order, Odubel Herrera. 2 strikeouts around the line drive.
I just made a new stat. Herbert's holding batter runner to single.
Herbert's.
Yeah. It's a new analytics
Name
stat.
one great outfielder named Herbert.
I just made that up. Herbert's holding batter runner to single.
1-0 pitch and it bounces.
The Nats have done it 78.65% of the time.
That's strong.
Mm-hmm.
On 2-0, Herrera looking heater, and he got a pitch under 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, Doug's had him shaking his head all night long. He struck him out twice on that run-back fastball starting at his front hip, so he was convinced that he was getting a 2-0 fastball. Not the case.
Top of the order, Herrera. Ramos threatening a snap throw.
Might have taken a strike away from Pfister.
He's a couple of guys you don't want on base when you're 2 or 3 runs ahead.
So you pop up to try to pick off a runner, and maybe you blocked out Larry Vanover right there. You see Pitch Track has it right down the middle, but it was called a ball.
3-1. There's the walk, and look out. Here comes Freddie Galvis. Suddenly representing the tying run. That's Doug Pfister's 3rd walk of the night. 1 was intentional. That gets Matt Thornton up. And that's for Chase Utley, possibly, who's on deck.
Good call.
And if Doug gets the hitter here, he'll come out for the 8th because of his pitch count. He's only in the low 80s. But the scoreboard's in jeopardy if Chase Utley bats in this inning. Going with the breaking ball and missing. Galvis a liner to Worth last time. He's 1 for 3 with an RBI triple. Ball 2.
Good trip by Ian Desmond right here. He's going to go talk to Doug Pfister. Maybe slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, Chase Utley 0 for 3, but he's at 2 line drives. To right and 1 to left, so he's had some good ABs.
Weird.
What does Matt Williams do here?
Well,
Here he comes.
He's got to go get him, yeah.
Boy, Doug Pfister was within 1 out, FP, of possibly being in line for a complete game.
Has he signaled yet? Yeah, that's going to do it.
Batty reaching out for the ball, 6 2/3 for Doug. A very unusual 4 walks, even though 1 was intentional. In line to win it, it'll be Thornton and Utley. telecast is presented by authority of the Washington Nationals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Washington Nationals. For Doug Fister, 87 pitches, 51 strikes. Thornton and Chase Utley. And Chase Utley is 3 for 4 career against him.
Yeah, lots of fastballs from Thornton. It's been averaging 93.7 on your FM dial, miles an hour.
Yeah, got to get ahead here. And he does, 83. That one's sliding from one side to the other.
Let me see the numbers on Thornton. 4th appearance. Makes an occasional changeup to right-handers.
One and one, fastball missing. This all started with 2 outs on the Grady Sizemore pinch single. Walks to Odubel Herrera and Freddie Galvis. Took Doug Fister right out of this game. Thornton throws a strike, and it was hooked foul.
That was tie ball game if it was fair.
Ryan Zimmerman not on the line, but he's within about 8 feet of it. And a 1-2 pitch laced to center. Michael A. Taylor right there. Phillies have had some good swings. And Chase Utley has nothing to show for 4 pretty hard hit balls. Time for the Hyundai 7th inning stretch at Nationals Park. Some folks still getting the cool one on a cool night. Offense is cool. 5-2, huh?
Benz of Arlington and Mercedes-Benz of Alexandria. 5-2 Nats head to the bottom of the 7th inning. And you're sitting at home and you're saying, I want to see some taters. All right, first pitch of the game, you got it. You know Escobar, with his first home run as a Washington National, in ambush mode to put his ball club up 1-0. Then we move on to the bottom of the 5th inning. Michael Taylor leading that inning off with the home run, getting on top of it. So couple of taters. And we like to see those. Taylor's just crushed.
And Nationals have now hit 11 home runs this year, given up 5. And this is Luis Garcia, 28-year-old right-hander. He can bring it, 6'3", 230. Escobar missed him in the last series between these two ball clubs.
Fastball average is 95, slider 84. 2 pitches.
"13 games for the Phils last year after 39 at AAA Lehigh Valley. It's his 3rd year in the big leagues. Former Nationals property. Nats got him in a deal with the Dodgers in the Ronnie Belliard trading deadline move back in, that was actually the 2nd trading deadline on August 30th of 09, when you have to get waivers to get a guy to pass through the league, and the Dodgers needed Ronnie Belliard. Whoa. Looked like Escobar was about set to dive over the plate, and he got stood.
He was
straight up.
He was sticking his teeth in there for that slider with 2 strikes. And he almost got hit with the fastball. That's what you have to do as a right-hander here. Respect the slider, so he's staying in there. And he's like, "Oops, that ain't the slider. That's a fastball. Look out." Kind of bracing for impact right there.
Made an offer at that one. He wants an appeal. He's already been called out by Larry Vanover. And I know how you feel about those.
Well, you could hear him. No, you got to check. You got to check. But it was too late because Vanover already said he went. And I think if he looks at it, he'll probably see that he did. I like the effort with throwing the bat backwards, though, to try to sell the call. That's not in my hands. You can't tell if I went.
Yeah. Here's Ian Desmond, 1 for 2 career against Garcia.
I think I've talked about this before, but Mark Grace was the best I ever saw because he would check his swing and then walk toward the mound to make the bat look like it was behind him. I don't know that he ever got called on a check swing.
It's an easy look at 95 right there. Aaron Barrett for the 8th with Francoeur, Ashe, and Ruiz. 2 of the 3 right-handers due up for the Phils. Swing and a miss on a ball in the dirt.
Guess fastball got the slider.
Oh, my.
It's a couple fastballs up around the tower, and even if they weren't intentional, which I'm 99.99% sure they weren't, that'll still get the other dugout's attention. Guys don't like it up around the head, and that was close. That's also a big reason, Carpoy, hitters don't always complain about pine tar on gloves and hats, because if you ask them, they rather a guy that throws upper 90s throw it over the plate than at their head. And if they need to get a better grip, so what?
Desmond takes that fastball cleanly into center field. His first base hit of the night. We'll see if some running game action could happen here with 1-on-1 out in the 7th.
Time for your T-Mobile game changer. Tonight we're going to give it to Jason Worth, his last at-bats. 6 innings. Started it up with a double. Over Herrera's head in center field. They go on to score a couple of runs in the 6th. And Jason Worth starting it up.
Worth a double over the head of Herrera in center field last time. Goes up swinging. One hopper, Ashe. Turned by Utley, who did a great job of clearing himself, with Ian Desmond bearing right down on him. Around the horn go the Phils. Around to the 8th inning, and Aaron Barrett go the Nats.
Friday at 7, Nats and Phillies. It's Sean O'Sullivan against Max Scherzer. So you see some heat from Scherzer, and they just faced O'Sullivan. He got the no decision Sunday. Pitched 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, struck out 5. So coverage begins at 6:30 with Nats Extra on Max and 2. There's Doug. Or Max. Or Max and Doug. They're probably sitting next to each other. Old teammates.
Gio photobombing us. That was brought to you by Freight Rail Works. The do-ups here. Career versus the Nats, what Francoeur, Ashe, and Ruiz have done. Most of Jeff Francoeur's at-bats back with Atlanta. He's made a couple of detours since then. Mets, Rangers, Royals, San Diego. There's Aaron Barrett. Francoeur facing him for the first time.
Fastball 94, slider 84. I like what Doug Fister did tonight. He didn't have his A-plus stuff. You know, there wasn't a lot of ground balls, but like we always say with Doug, well, not always say, I shouldn't say that. Tonight was more about the makeup than the stuff. He went out there and battled.
He did. Right-handed hitter with power. 0-2 slider, had him reaching. What a great pitch. Can Zimmerman reach it? Not quite.
So close. Find the fence. Reach as far as you can. I think if he reaches any further, he flips over and goes in the well. So yeah, live to fight another day.
Don't have to throw Francoeur a strike when you get him 0-2. And Aaron Barrett gets the K. Nissan will track it.
They'd give that one to Wilson Ramos. He saw Francoeur chase the slider before and barely get a piece of it. And he said, well, if you're going to swing at that, we're going to throw you another one. Nice call by Ramos.
Here's Cody Ashe. 2 for 2 with a pair of doubles against Aaron Barrett. Nine o'clock at Nationals Park. And we are in the 8th inning. And a ball hit out to center. Taylor right there. Ashe 0 for 4. Let's check in with Dan with an update.
Bob Denard's Span's night at Hagerstown is over. He played 7 innings, went 3 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Look for him to potentially play 9 innings tomorrow. Matt Williams said if Span only got 7 tonight, he could go 9 innings tomorrow and further get closer to rejoining the Nationals.
Cool.
I don't know about you, but I could go for a little hashtag Spanny.
The further he gets, the closer he gets. And a strike to Carlos Ruiz.
I hope if he's watching right now after his game that he went out and bought those guys a tremendous spread in Hagerstown after the game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, McDonald's or something. That was the best part of the minor leagues. When big leaguers came down, they always would buy good food after the game, right? Like, you know, a nice steakhouse, and they'd have it catered. We're sitting there used to having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or tuna fish.
Some have been known to maybe leave a big screen TV behind.
Are you telling me to do that too?
I just said some.
Three for 4 with a homer.
Nice. And guys will tell you, it is not easy to go down and face single-A pitchers. We're not talking about AAA or big league command. How about the command of Aaron Barrett? Great pitch to get Francoeur. He had Ruiz bailing, and he got a break on the line drive by Ashe. Well done, Aaron Barrett. Bryce Harper leads off.
Tomorrow night on Masson 2. Then on Saturday, 1 p.m. start on Masson, WSA 9. Then Sunday, we're back on Masson 2. Then the Cardinals series, Masson and Masson. And that's extra before and after each game. A future gamer right there.
How about that? Hanging in there.
Nice night at the ballpark. 5-2 as we cruise to the bottom of the 8th inning. The Carolina League's defending champions, Potomac Nationals, are back in action April 24th. Through the 27th. Homestand highlights include replica jersey giveaway, Saturday night fireworks, Sunday Bark in the Park Dog Day. You say that 5 times fast. What is that? For all your ticket and promotional information, call 703-590-2311. Carp Monday is $1 hot dogs. You would love that. Well, maybe not tonight.
Yeah. do not mention food to me right now.
Maybe not.
You out of your mind?
Maybe not tonight.
Jonathan Papelbon getting work. Phillies just got swept, and their closer needs to throw some pitches. Bryce Harper against him. Career 1 for 9, 5 strikeouts.
Well, the Mets just swept the Phillies.
Yeah, that put them in a first place tie with Atlanta.
So yeah, this is the Phillies closer getting some work in.
The Metropolitans lead the Marlins 5-4 at home, top of the 7th.
Mets are good. Newsflash.
Yeah, they're not going to be overmatched by anybody.
If they had Zach Wheeler, they'd be real good.
Bryce taking on 2-0. It's Black Heritage Day here at the ballpark. Jackie Robinson Day in Boston yesterday, celebrating the great African-American athletes over the years. And it's been a nice night here in their tribute. A well-played game, certainly well-pitched. Not everybody wearing number 42 tonight. That was yesterday. We'll never forget those guys. Jackie, Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, Satchel Paige. Strike. 3-2.
I don't think Bryce liked this call. Let's see what Pitch Track had to say.
Wow. It's 3 baseballs out of the zone.
Bryce almost made it to first. Did you see how far he strolled down the line?
It's close. He better be hacking.
Yeah, he better be hacking.
It's close, and it got him on the inside edge.
I still think he's +1 on the close calls tonight.
Yeah.
Remember the ones with Cole Hamels that Pitch Track had as strikes that Larry Vanover called balls? And then Papelbon goes with a fastball on the inner half. It was supposed to be away.
For the 9th inning, Drew Storn, if it stays 5-2, Blake Trinan, if the Nats add a run, making it a non-save situation. Zimmerman, 2-run double last time. A big blow in this game to give the Nats breathing room against Cole Hamels. Against Papelbon, career 3 for 10. A couple of doubles. A base on balls, 3 strikeouts. .91 center cut, and Ryan trying to get to it.
You know, Ryan's taken a lot of good swings early in the season with nothing to show. That one right there just told me that he's real close.
How so?
Well, he's just on time. You know, he's got a lot of stuff to get right. He's got, like, his hands are moving, the leg kick. He's got a lot of moving parts to his swing. So it takes a minute to get all those things on time. And that swing right there was real close. You know, the double in the corner, he's going that way hard. The triple to right yesterday. He was having trouble in Philadelphia covering the fastball away, but he took care of that in Boston. He did once here tonight. And like I said, when he gets hot, he can go a month with getting 2-3 hits a game.
1-2, got a slider. 81 the other way. Papelbon, 2 outs.
What do we got? Follow the Nationals all season in 2015 with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment, at any moment, with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet.
Wilson Ramos against Papelbon. He's the only Nat who's ever hit a homer against this guy, 1 for 8. That's a front door breaking ball that stays inside. Fastball ripped the other way. To his left, Chase Utley. Time to pop up. And it's a 1-2-3 for Papelbon, bottom of the 8th. That means Drew Storn in the 9th for the save, facing 7-8-9.
By Miller Lights. Big part of the ball game. Chase Utley up with the bases loaded. Matt Thornton on the hill. And he gets him to line out to Michael Taylor. Picking up Doug Fister big time. Doug's waiting. Says, hey, man, we leave my runners out there. Nice job, bro.
Yeah, and that's from a guy who stranded 83% of his runners last year, Doug Fister. Top of the ninth, Howard Ruff. And a hitter in the number 9 spot for the Phillies. Down by 3 against Drew Storen.
4th appearance for Drew. ERA at 3. 2 for 2 in save opportunities. The last one came in Philadelphia. And it was a Storniano kind of save. He had the bases lowered. You remember Ryan Zimmerman bailed him out with the diving play. But he slowed his lower half down and was nice yesterday in Boston.
Look at him turn over the changeup to the big man Ryan Howard. Severe run and sink. Ryan Howard, career against Drew Storen. 2 for 5 with, of all things, a triple.
Four shakes.
To the fastball. Danny Espinosa from the line, and he threw it off line, and Ryan Zimmerman dives to go get it.
I think it's safe to say that Danny Espinosa in his entire big league career has never practiced this play from this angle. How many times as second baseman do you field the ball down the right field line, and that almost got Ron Kulpa in the back of the head? Did you see that?
Great stretch by Zimmerman.
Nice range by Espinosa.
Yeah.
Did you see Ron Kulpa running for his life?
There's Darren Ruff.
Here's the first base umpire again, folks. Check it out, Ron Kulpa. He doesn't know where the ball is. He can't find it. And he thinks it's about to hit him, and it almost got him right in the neck. Look out.
Fastball for a strike. 94 from Drew Storen. Darren Ruff 0 for 1 against him. Yeah, it's funny, the crowd reacted before we heard the call. Larry Vanover, deliberate, and the crowd liked it before that. Speed on deck in the number 9 spot. Right now it's a power matchup. Storen and Ruff. Uncertain on the changeup. No swing, says Ron Kulpa. Boy, did he have that hitter fooled.
Well, Skipper wanted the call, and I thought he went. We'll see it from the side. Yeah, that's almost a full swing.
Yeah, that bat was way out there.
And you see the Skipper's reaction.
2-2. Storen recovers with the killer slider for the strikeout.
Wilson Ramos did this last time to Darren Ruff. He chased one Aaron Barrett slider, and then he said, you want to swing at that? We'll expand further out. And he chased it again. Nice pitch.
Next up is Ben Revere. Somehow he and Drew Storen have avoided each other up to this point. And he paints the outside edge with 94.
Tomorrow, 7. Masson 2.
Drew's dealing tonight.
Larry Vanover is digging the outside strike right now with Juice Storm.
And the 0-2. Wilson Ramos, great job with the batter flashing in front of him of keeping that ball close, keeping the double play in order. Although if they pull one off with Ben Revere running, that'll be one heck of a way to win this game.
It would have to be a one-hop bullet right at somebody.
And they'd still have to hurry. Out to short. Desmond at the bag. He'll try it. And how about that to end the game? A 6-3. Who thought Ben Revere would be thrown out on a ball like that? And the Nationals are a little closer to getting things back even here.
Perfectly placed right over the bag. Ian Desmond did a nice job of just touching the base, throwing it to first. And the Nats with a W in their first game back here at Nats Park.
Home cooking, feeling pretty good for the Washington Nationals tonight.